What's up, fight fans? Back at it with another one. And here at Round One Sports Talk, we're going to be getting into this very highly anticipated matchup that we all want to see against Stephen Cool Boy Fulton versus the Monster Inoue. Now, you guys asked for this video. You guys kept saying, Fulton this, Anui this, and there was a lot of, back and forth saying. First of all, I want to thank everyone that has subscribed and commented on my videos. Thank you. I've read them all. I've liked a lot of your posts. And what can I say? Thank you. So we're going to be getting into this video. So without further ado, you're not going to want to miss this video. Check this video out. Okay, so since there's a lot of speculation between both fighters, right? What I decided to do was go real in depth into both fighters' careers, accomplishments, and how they've been tested and battle tested as champions. Okay, now Stephen Cool Boy Fulton is an American fighter from Philadelphia. His current record is 21 fights, 8 ways by knockout. In his professional outing, he has gone 143 rounds. And in his current division today, there are 1,240 registered fighters. Okay, now, where do we start with Stephen Cool Boy Fulton? So if we're going to start anywhere, we're going to start at the beginning. Okay, let's look at Stephen Cool Boy Fulton's first 6 professional fights. Okay, by the way, he is currently the WBC and WBO 122-pound super bantamweight champion of the world. Okay, and in the world, he is ranked number 2. In the United States, he is ranked number 1. Okay, now in his first professional outing, he fought a guy by the name of Badinger. He came in with a record of 0-2-0. 0 wins, 2 losses. That was Stephen Fulton's first fight. His second fight, he fought against Woods, which he was making his professional debut. Then he fought Burgos, which came in with a record of 2-9-1. 2 losses, 2 wins, 9 losses, right? And then he fought against Eric. He came in with a record of 3-2, 3 wins, 2 losses. Then he fought Jamal with a record of 7-10, 7 wins, 7 wins, 10 losses. His 6th fight, he fought against Capo, and he came in with a record of 8 wins, 18 losses. Those are his 6 first fights. Now, a lot has been made about the fact that Stephen Cool Boy Fulton has fought many undefeated fighters and beaten them. So let's check out these impressive undefeated fighters. His first undefeated fighter he fought against was Samuel Rodriguez, which came in with a record of 3-0. His second undefeated fighter he fought against was Alberto, and he came in with a record of 6-0. His third fighter, the undefeated fighter, Adam Lopez, he came in with a record of 8-0. Now, he did fight some strong undefeated fighters later in his career. He came across Isaac. He came in with a record of 15-0. Leo came in a record of 20-0. And Brandon Figueroa was 20-0, but he had that one blemish on his record. Okay. Armando came in with 16-0, and he also had a no contest on his record. Okay, but they're technically, Brandon Figueroa technically didn't have a loss, but he had the no decision. You know what I'm saying? It was a draw. So, his worstest fighter with the worstest record that Cool Boy Fulton has ever fought against was a guy with a record that he had 61 fights, 49 losses, and 2 no contests, right? 49 losses, 61 fights. I was saying to myself, well, that has to be one of his 8 knockouts, right? I was wrong. I looked that fight up. It was a scheduled 8-round fight. It went all 8 rounds, and he won by unanimous decision, Stephen Cool Boy Fulton. He did not knock out the guy with 49 losses. All right, whatever. So, when we talk about championship pedigree, we talk about what you have done in championship fights. How many championship fights have you won? Stephen Cool Boy Fulton has 4 championship fights. He has 4 title fights, okay, including the fights that he won the titles in. Those count. He only has 4 title fights. He has a 5th title. He won the IBO title, but that's not recognized as a world championship title, okay? But if we was to push that in there, he would have 5 world title fights, but they weren't consecutive. The last 4 was, but there was a space in between fights where he fought other fighters for non-title fights. Okay. Now, when we look at Stephen Cool Boy Fulton's careers, his opponents, his best, his first 6 fights, his undefeated fighters, his championship pedigree. Okay, now what's left is what he did in the ring. And in some fights, he fought very, very well, impressive. He fought his last fight against Roman, in which I believe he won every round. So if he won every round against Roman, then he wasn't that good of an opponent then. He didn't even present Stephen Cool Boy Fulton with a challenge. Okay, if you wipe him down all 12 rounds, that speaks for itself. Okay, so in the Lopez fight, I noticed that Lopez had him hurt to the body. He had him against the rope. Stephen Cool Boy Fulton was against the rope. I also noticed that Lopez had one bad wheel, meaning both his legs weren't 100%. He had a brace on one leg, meaning he couldn't go forward and apply the kind of pressure because his knee wouldn't allow him to do that. Okay? But in that fight, I also saw Fulton handle adversity. Okay? There was no point in that fight that I looked in Fulton's eyes and saw any quit. He has that dog in him. Every minute and every second of that fight, Fulton was trying to win that fight. Fulton was coming out every round, guns blazing, swinging, and he was still in the fight. And he proved it by winning the fight. So he does have that dog in him. Okay? He has a piston-like jab, but what I also notice is that he doesn't bring the jab back here. He brings it down here. Okay? With a fighter with a good IQ and that can make adjustments, that could be kind of bad because it lets me believe that Fulton's relying heavily on his ability to evade. But what happens when you evade? Your upper body evades, but you leave your legs here. Remember when Zab Judah was evading that dude and he kept going back until the guy made the adjustment and lunged out and caught him? That's how you can catch evading fighters. Okay, so what I take from Fulton's career is, as a champion, he's only been battle tested 4 times. He only has 4 championship fights. That's it. In his resume, we went down through his 6 first fights, his best fights, his undefeated fights. He only has 8 knockouts. So what Fulton relies heavily on is volume. He's a high punch volume output, okay? In which he's going to outbox you and outclass you and keep you at bay with that piston-like jab. He's going to evade you with his footwork. That's what Fulton brings to the table. Very well. Now, Inoue's side. Inoue is a Japanese fighter. He comes from Japan. He comes in with a record of 25 fights, 22 big ways by knockout. In his division, there are 976 registered fighters, and he is currently ranked number 1 in the world and in the United States across the board. He is currently the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, 118-pound welterweight champion of the world. Okay. So in Inoue's first 6 fights, some of these guys' names I'm not going to be able to pronounce, so please bear with me. I apologize now in advance. In his first fight, he fought Inoue. Inoue came in with a record of 16 fights, 4 losses, 1 no contest. He knocked him out. First fighter that he ever fought against had already had 16 professional fights. Fulton's first fight had two losses and no wins. His first fight. Okay. His second fight that Inoue fought It's a guy's name I can't pronounce, but he came in with a record of 9-10. 9 wins, 10 losses, and Inoue knocked him out. In his third fight, he fought against Yakuza. He came in with a record of 17-2-4. Inoue TKO'd him in his third fight. By Inoue's fourth professional fight, he challenged for the Japanese championship. That is not a world title, but it's good to have. It's like that IBO title that Fulton got. It's like one of those belts. It's a good belt to have when you're moving up and you want to see if your fighter can beat at least that kind of champion to put himself in position to fight for a real world title. Okay? In his fifth professional outing, I cannot pronounce this guy's name, he came out with a record of 18-3-3. And in his fifth professional fight, Inoue challenged for the Oriental Pacific Light Flyweight Championship. That is not a world championship, but it's one of those smaller belts. In only his fifth fight. In Inoue's sixth professional fight, Inoue fought Adrian Hernandez for the WBC Light Flyweight Championship of the world. That is a real world championship. Okay? So by his sixth professional fight, Inoue had became a world champion. And by the way, in his seventh professional fight, he moved up in weight, won another title, and became a two-time division world champion and became the fastest man ever in boxing history to become a two-division world champion. Okay? All right. So, his best fighter that he fought that was undefeated was Emmanuel Rodriguez. Emmanuel Rodriguez came in with a record of 19-0. And he also was a champion. He was the IBF champion. Okay? If you don't know the backstory to that, Emmanuel Rodriguez's coach decided to use intimidating tactics on Inoue's coach while they were watching him train. And he came and he shoved Inoue's coach and said, "Don't be filming," right? Which, in turn, Inoue let them film Inoue, which was fucked up. But he was trying that New York intimidating tactic on Inoue's coach. And if you didn't know this, Inoue's coach is his dad. Yo, that didn't work out too good for Emmanuel Rodriguez. He destroyed him. 2 rounds, knocked him down 3 times. Don't push Inoue's father. Okay, mental note. So anyway, he's a 3-division world champion. He defended that first belt 7 consecutive times. Inoue's championship pedigree, he has 19 successful consecutive title fights. His last 19 fights have all been for world titles. Okay? And I don't know about you, but if you challenge for a world title, you just didn't roll out of bed. Meaning all 19 of those men had to win consecutive matches. Multiple consecutive matches to get themselves in position to fight for a world title and to challenge Inoue for one of his world titles. Okay? All right? So all 19 of those men were highly decorated fighters that had proven themselves to at least get a shot at the title, or they were the champion and Inoue was fighting them for their belts. Either way, or all those men were world-class fighters. Now, the difference between Inoue and Fulton is Fulton hasn't fought all the top guys in his division. No, he hasn't. As a matter of fact, he doesn't even have all the belts in his division. There are 2 more belts out there lingering. And there are guys in his division that are saying that they're better than him. They just haven't fought him yet. So he hasn't cleaned out his division. He hasn't beat all the top guys in his division. And no division that Fulton's ever fought in, he's never beaten all the top guys in none of the weight classes he's fought in. Okay? Inoue, on the other hand, has cleaned out everyone. If you had a belt and you were the best in that division, he went after you. And he took your belt. As of right now, he beat all the top guys in his division. All the top guys. Okay? Now, he's vacating his titles, he's moving up. When you guys are saying that Fulton's going to beat Inoue, I understand where you get that from if you just look at Inoue. If you look at Inoue, you show me a picture of Inoue, and you would say, this guy's going to beat your guy. And I didn't know anything about Inoue. And I turned around and looked at him, and I said, this boy band looking motherfucker is not going to beat Fulton, bro. This Chinese, man, he ain't beating. Just like Paul Butler did that mistake. He saw Inoue walking around in the hotel, post-fight interviews, weigh-ins, and he said, man, he's tiny. How the hell is this little Asian dude knocking all these people out? But when he went in there, what Paul Butler talked about was Inoue's presence. And he changed real fast. And Paul Butler knew after the first round he had made a horrible mistake. He made a horrible mistake. And he was like, oh, and Inoue turned him into a retreating fighter, a one-punch fighter. And Paul Butler was just preying on the fact that he made a mistake and that he would be able to catch Inoue with that shot because that's all he had. And that was it. Okay? Until you're in the ring with Inoue, that you're going to realize what kind of fighter he is. He is a real killer. Kind of like Tom Brady-ish, right? You look at Tom Brady, not the most athletic. Doesn't even look like a jock, right? He's like, how the hell is this skinny beanpole dude going to... When he gets onto that football field, he is a killer. He is a real killer, all right? So, like Inoue, you take a look at him and you can't believe it. How many times have we seen these European guys do good over there? But you're not a real champion until you cross the pond and come see us. Yo, that's just a fact, baby, in boxing. You got to cross the pond, come fight in Madison Square Garden, Atlantic City, Las Vegas, wherever. But you got to fight here and you got to be our champions. You got to come through America to be considered one of the best. That's just a fact of boxing. Okay? Anthony Joshua, he was the best until what? He crossed the pond. How'd that work out for him? How many of you guys had Anthony Ruiz in that fight? Stop fucking lying. You know you didn't. All right? Don't even say that. So anyway, how many of you guys thought Ricky Hatton was going to give Floyd Mayweather a way better fight? And Manny Pacquiao. Ricky Hatton was undefeated until he crossed the pond. How many times have we seen that time and time again? I said it myself. But Inoue's already crossed the pond multiple times. He knocked out Jason Maloney in Madison Square Garden brutally. He's fought Mexican fighters. He fought American fighters already. When you guys are saying that a Monster Inoue hasn't fought any black fighters, have you ever guys asked yourself this question? Maybe they didn't win the fights they needed to get there to fight him? Because Inoue doesn't fight skin color. Inoue fights you if you have what he wants. If you have a world title, he'll fight you. This is not personal against Inoue versus Fulton. If Fulton vacates those belts tomorrow, the hell with Fulton, he's going after those belts. That's all that's Inoue's focused on. And I'm going to tell you guys and clear the airways on this. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Fighters come from all walks of life and all corners of the world. A fighter comes in from within here. And if you can catch that right kid that was born to fight and he doesn't slip through the cracks and go to jail or get killed or end up on drugs, and you can get that kid, then you got something special. Okay? Because you can put all the money you want, all the best trainer in your fighter. If he's just not that kind of fighter, he's just not that kind of fighter. He'll get better, yeah, and you'll give him a good start, yes, and a better shot than he'll ever have, yes. But you're not going to turn your fighter into Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is Floyd Mayweather. He's the fighter he is because of him. Because of how he thinks, because of how he moves, how he puts it together. Okay? Those are special men. And those kind of fighters can come from anywhere in the world. Anywhere. Okay? So it doesn't matter about that. Okay? But, true indeed, the American slick style can cause anybody with a tough night. Any fighter. Because we have been training ourselves and learning about boxing in America since boxing was boxing. Okay? And we are passing it down through generation. And we're catching these kids coming into these gyms and they're making good fighters out of them. Okay? And there are some fighters that are just ahead of their time. Okay? Inoue's one of those fighters. And if you were to take away Inoue's power, you're still left with a superior fighter standing in front of you. So where are you guys getting your facts that Fulton's just gonna walk Inoue down and knock him out or beat him up? How? How? Where are you seeing what? The opponents that Fulton fought are gonna beat Inoue? Bro, Inoue's not those guys. And when you see your favorite fighter fight against a more superior fighter, this is what happens. Do you remember when Mayweather fought Arturo Gatti? Arturo Gatti fought Mickey, and those are three epic, legendary Hall of Fame fights. When Arturo Gatti went against Floyd Mayweather, I didn't think he was going to beat Floyd Mayweather. I had Floyd Mayweather in that fight, but I didn't think I was going to witness what I was watching. I never in the history of my life have ever seen a champion not land one punch in a fight. It was so bad that I had to cover my eyes between some rounds. Mayweather was beating the dog shit out of that man. And let's keep it funky, right? Arturo Gatti is a fighter's fighter. He is a stone cold gladiator. Go watch his highlights. He's a real fighter. He didn't belong in that ring with Mayweather, not on that night or any other night. They were just two different quality of fighters. And styles makes fights. Okay? Stephen Cool Boy Fulton has a unique style, but he doesn't have a superior dominating style. And Inoue's the kind of fighter that can make adjustments. He's really good on countering, punching, right? And he's just a technical fighter. If I was to train a fighter, I would look at Inoue and the way he's so technical, his footwork, his positioning is all fundamentally sound, bro. He is solid, bro. And he doesn't waste anything. And what are we talking about here? We're talking about a fighter, Inoue, that possibly lost a few rounds in his entire career. That's what kind of resume he has. That's what we're arguing about. He lost maybe a handful of rounds in his entire career. All 19 successful title defenses and title fights. He lost a handful of rounds. That's all you're talking about. Fulton's been hurt. He had to persevere. He had to, overcome in some fights. For Jesus Christ, a guy with 49 losses took him 8 rounds. He only has 8 knockouts, so we're not going to compare their knockouts because that would be a landslide. Inoue has 22. We're not going to talk about their championship pedigree because that's also a landslide. So when we're talking about these fighters, please, with all due respect, every time you say that Fulton's just going to wipe down Inoue, how do you see that? And where do you see it? Okay? But you have the right to your opinion. And if Fulton's your guy, I support you. I'm picking Inoue on this one because I'm not gambling or playing with my heart. I'm going by what I see. And what I see is talent. Inoue has real talent. And he is way ahead of his time. And until you guys overlook that little boy band look that Inoue got and starts paying attention to what he's really doing, you're going to find out why they call him the monster. And if Fulton takes this fight, he's personally going to find out why they call him the monster. That's all I got for you today. Let me know what you think. Thank you for liking my videos, commenting, subscribe, listen. I love all your comments. Thank you for everything. On to the next. Peace.